Hello, I'm Nigel Crowther. I'm from IBM RPA Tech Sales, and today I'm going to show you a little asset that I created to help you turbocharge your bot building, in particular in relation to building callouts to decision services and building an API wrapper around your bot. So what I have here is my bot code, and I'm just going to run it without debugger and start up a chatbot which is running locally on my PC. So this chatbot is not using any runtime licenses because it's using my development license, so I can happily run as many as I want of these. So when the chatbot opens, it brings up a carousel with some options here. You can see you can do some pretty basic stuff. You can set the bot name, you can specify an API wrapper to sit around your bot, so in other words specify input and output parameters to your bot and then expose that through a open API specification, so you can actually invoke your bot through that specification, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. And another option here is to add a decision service call out from your bot. So in this case I'm using ODM, IBM's own decision management tool, to call out from RPA to a decision service. And in this case, the example I'm using is an address validation decision service. And finally, the last option here is generate button. What that will do is take all the information you've supplied in these buttons and actually create your RPA bot, and also create any open API specification that you may have requested with this option here. Right, so let's get started. So let's first of all give a name to my bot, and I'll just call it address validator bot. And then I'm going to specify some details on the API that's going to sit around the bot. So what I'm doing here is exposing the port number of the RPA agent. In this case, I'm running on my local laptop, so I'm using localhost, and this is the RPA API to allow me to call into the agent, and then which then invokes the bot. And I'm going to supply some parameters for this API, and I'm just going to use some simple address parameters, so street, city, county, and postcode. And I don't want any output parameters, so I'll just cancel that. And now that's it. So now I need to specify my decision call out to ODM. So I've specified the API bot wrapper, but currently it's empty. So now I'm going to actually ask it to generate me some code to call out to the decision service. So in this case, I'm using a different port number. This is the actual rule execution server, and this is actually running on my laptop as well, so it's localhost, and this time it's port 9090, which is the rule execution server port, the default port. Right, so now what I'm doing is specifying the path to the rule app. So if I bring up my rule execution server console, you can see I've defined a rule app called address cleansing, and it has a rule app path. So I'm just going to copy that from the rule execution server and paste it in here. And it's also now asking for the payload, and this can be generated from the rule execution server, and this is the example here. So it's simply passing in street, city, and so on. I'm going to paste that in there. So now I have my sample payload. Press OK, go back to my bot, and it says it's specified. So now I've specified the bot name, the bot API wrapper, decision service callout, and I'm ready to go. So I'm just going to hit generate bot, and now I'm going to just hands back, not touch anything, and you see it starting to run in the background here. There it is. So it's creating a WAL file, and it's also creating an OpenAPI spec and actually opening up the Swagger editor, which is online, and it's going to import the OpenAPI YAML file which I generated. So now you can see this is the bot that's been generated. So all this code has been generated by the bot. So you can see it's generated 50 lines of code, and you can see it's defined the parameters: street, city, county, postcode. It's commented out as a message box, but I'm going to actually put it back. And it's also created a subroutine called call decision service, which is the boilerplate bot code to call ODM. And you can see here it's added the rule set path in here, and it's also created a variable to store the payload input JSON payload. You can see here we've currently just got the default which we copied from the rule execution server. So what I'm going to do now is actually replace this payload, these strings, with actual parameter names from the input variables. So I've just put that in a buffer to make it a bit easier to show you, but there you go. You see I've pasted that in, so now these are now the input parameters coming from the bot. I can save that, and I'm just going to test locally to make sure it works. Okay, and you can see it's working. It's doing some rudimentary validation here. Now I'm just going to publish this bot. And now if I go to my Swagger editor, you see this is the OpenAPI spec which I've imported into the editor Swagger.io, and as you probably know, you can actually not only view OpenAPI within this tool, but actually try it out as well, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to say unlock false, and then put in some simple address. So I'm going to spell this wrong. So the actual county name is Berkshire, but I'm just going to call it something else like that. And then I'm going to put in a valid postcode and then execute. So in a couple of seconds, hopefully, we should see the dialog box appear. So this dialog box is the box from the bot, so that shows it's been executing, and we can see the parameters being passed in successfully. Okay on that. So the bot's now going to execute, and hopefully in a few seconds we're going to get a response. Here we go. And you can see here code 200, which means successful return, and you can see the JSON return response invalid county, which is what we expected because my county was garbage. So that shows you that we can build a bot to call an ODM decision service and build a wrapper around it, and then build an OpenAPI spec to sit around the bot and invoke that from a API and execute it all within a couple of minutes and with virtually no coding. So that shows you the power of this asset. Thanks for listening.